there, welcome to The Trade. Let's get across what's happening on the macro front. And thousands of U.S. Army paratroopers have arrived in the Middle East as the U.S. President Donald Trump warned Iran that the U.S. will destroy its energy infrastructure if it does not open the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. President also threatening to attack the desalination plants that supply clean water in Iran. Iran, meanwhile, has said that it has received U.S. peace proposals via intermediaries, with the Iranian Foreign Ministry describing the proposals as, quote, unrealistic, illogical, and excessive. The White House says President Trump is considering asking Arab nations to pay for the cost of war, with his administration requesting an additional $200 billion in funding for the war. And Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell says that the U.S. Central Bank can wait to see how the war affects economy and inflation, saying there's sort of downside risks to the labor market, which suggests to keep rates low, but there's upside risks to inflation, which suggests maybe don't keep rates low. You've got tension between the two objectives. Bond yields fell sharply as Jerome Powell reinforced that wait-and-see stance, with the two-year yield falling to 3.81%. The 10-year was down to 4.32%. The Australian three-year government bond yield fell to 4.71%, while the 10-year was down to 5.05%. On the US dollar, the index is up 0.3% on the day, the Aussie dollar weakening further to 68.4 US. So let's get across the charts that matter right now. Peter McGuire from trading.com joins me live. Peter, nice to see you. Let's talk about oil today in the Asian session. What's happening?
Well, good morning, Nadine. Yes, it's sold off a little bit. It's in the sense of what we saw as far as US and where the close was. And that was a good sign. And where we're sitting at the moment, it's been a relatively nice morning in the sense of, opportunity for traders. So I'm expecting there to be more volatility over the day. 106.30 for WTI, really narrowing that gap between WTI and Brent. You're running at 109.73 for Brent. So a little bit softer than yesterday. Remember, we hit that 116, so it's sold off a bit and heading in the right direction.
Well, we will see what happens in this Asian session, won't we? Because, we're seeing the price of light crude and Brent crude push higher right now, but still some pressure coming through on gold. Not dramatic, but walk us through, the factors at play here, Peter.
Well, it's running at 45.16 at the moment, Nadine. It's snapped a 3-week losing streak, running that more or less for the month. You'll be down about 15% from the end of Feb to the end of March. So it'll give us a good indication. It's certainly in sell-off territory, and it seems to be consolidating. It's nursing one of the worst monthly corrections since 2008. And as I mentioned, down 15%. The sell-off paused recently near the 200-day simple moving average. It's giving traders a chance, Nadine, to catch their breath. And Western economies are celebrating Easter this weekend. Also, the Middle East energy disruptions keeping the dollar supported. So the precious metals at a crossroad. Will it stabilise or continue to fall? And there seems to be a bit of mixed conjecture out there as far as direction and where it's going to trend.
All right, so Peter, one thing that we haven't spoken about a lot because there's just been so much is Bitcoin. How has Bitcoin been performing through this crisis?
Well, thinking where we are, Nadine, 66,700 current price or approximate. It's below that 70,000 at a lower boundary as far as consolidation. Momentum signals suggest deeper declines may be limited for now, and it's attempting a mild recovery. After falling to a 1-month low, slightly below that 65,000 before pairing losses and trading near 67,700. So it's trying to re-enter the multi-month upward sloping channel intact since early February. And it's at a little bit of a crossroad. Is it going to go softer or higher? We're still waiting as far as US dollar, what's happening as far as the big announcements this week with non-farm payrolls and so on. And oil is certainly taking center stage.
When it comes to currencies, I know we've touched on the US dollar, but the Japanese yen, we've had a lot of jawboning coming through from the Bank of Japan. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. Well, the situation, it's fairly fluid. Remember, normally there was intervention around that 160 handle as far as BOJ. and it's a cocktail of intervention and hawkish hike by the BOJ in quick succession could provide enough fuel for a sustained bullish reversal in the Japanese currency. So I'm thinking where we sit, 160 at probably, again, range bound. It seems to be in that, 158 to 161 sort of handle. And I feel until we get some sort of decisive move, Nadine, this week will be interesting. We've got the Prime Minister of Japan meeting with President Macron in Japan, and we've got some relatively good ISM numbers coming out of the States. Well, they're going to be released coming out of the States, and as well as that, Japanese releases as far as business PMIs and payroll. So you've got all of those big themes coming into play, and it'll be interesting again to see where the yen trends in the short to medium term leading up to Easter.
All right, Peter, thanks for getting us across the charts that matter: gold, Bitcoin, and the yen. Have a good one.
Thank you, Nadine.
That's it for the trade. Stay with us. More to come.